Good day everybody and welcome. My name is Patrick, aka Eviltrick, and on the 16th of June something amazing happened. Rimworld 1.0 is out, at least on the unstable branch, and I'm here to tell you today about the new features. There's way too much new stuff in 1.0. There's so much new stuff, so many pages of updates and changelogs that we will only cover the new features today. In another episode coming up, we will talk about their adjustments, the fixes and the balances and what that means to you. But today, let's just dive into what's new. There's a lot of new stuff. Tynan has taken his time, but he has definitely done an abundance of new stuff for the game. So new features. Let's start with the buildings. We've loaded in a map so I can just show you pretty much everything that has been going on, all the new items, the new things, the buffs, how they look. Because without a doubt, if you're familiar with Rimworlds, you can see that certain things looks different. Way different. And they do. To start with, new buildings. There's been a lot of new buildings added to Rimworlds 1.0. First off, bridges. There's been added bridges to the game, which is really nice. You can pretty much place them wherever there is any type of marshy soil, shallow water, or whatever moving water you can now place bridges upon, even though if it's deep water, which is now called waist deep water instead. So, brings me to the second point, new buildings. There is a building called Watermill Generator. This is a generator that approximately produces 1400 power, which is kind of a lot, but it can only be placed near moving water, so you cannot use it on any other maps than the maps with a river on it. And it doesn't matter how big it is, as long as it's moving water, you can place it like just shown right now. And it's rather cheap actually. 340 wood, 20 steel and 1 component. That's cheap. That's cheap. Besides the Watermill Generator, there is some new upgrades to defenses. The turret has been renamed to mini turret instead, pretty much just the same, takes less power, but all the small stats and balance changes we will go over in another video. So if you see stats that you might be remembering otherwise, don't worry, I'll get to it. But you do see this one, yes, there's an upgrade to the turret. It's called Steel Autocannon. Just like the mini turret, it has a pretty good range, but this has an even further range. And just like the mortars, it also has a minimum range. It delivers devastating attacks, approximately dealing 25 to 30 damage per shot in a burst fire mode. Kind of similar to the mini turret, just a bit faster. And stronger. And tankier. I haven't tested this out with plasteel and other types of materials, but I'll assume, just like the mini turret, that it can get a lot beefier. So, with the bridges, there's also the addition of new type of conduits. You can now finally place conduits through water. Yes, that's a thing now. You can actually do that. So Tynan took some of our advice and we can now finally cross rivers, have power on both sides, so that's amazing. And to this we go a little faster here guys, because there's a ton of new stuff. There's also a butcher spot. Instead of having to do a butcher table, let me see if I can find it here. Oh, that's a marriage spot. Just like the animal sleeping spots and the caravan packing spots. Oh god. Oh no. Oh damn, they're doing everything. There is also now a butcher spot. So instead of having to make a butcher table, you can now make a butcher spot. And it does exactly the same. You just get 75%. There we go. You just get 70% of the actual work instead of everything like you would do with a butcher table. So this is definitely good if you're doing ice sheet or stuff like that. And new stuff. There's also a double sleeping spot. So if you don't have the materials to build a bed, you have two people that's newlywed or for whatever reason they want to sleep together, you can now do a double sleeping spot instead, which is pretty nice. And that kind of covers it with the new buildings. Of course, overall there's been an overhaul to every single entity in the game. They all look smoother, look high definition-ish, they got new models, and nothing really looks the same. I've been looking hard at the game, and besides meat and a few things, then everything is new. Even plasteel looks better. Cloth looks new. It actually looks like rolls of cloth. And everything has been changed, along with a bunch of new items. Which brings me to the next point, items. For those of you who had the pleasure of playing with mods in Rimworlds, there is some essential mods to Rimworlds, one of them being Bionics, because when you colonist who will lose a leg or a limb or a toe or whatever during a playthrough, he would usually just not have that replaced. But the mod expanded prosthetics and organ engineering, I think it's called, has been added directly to the game. So you can now make bionic everything, pretty much everything. And for those of you who were familiar with the Bionic mod, the efficiency is exactly the same. So mostly, in general, the Bionic body parts will increase your manipulation or movement speed or whatever the trait, the stat it buffs. It buffs with around 20%, 20 to 40 depending on the item. And there's some late game stuff mixed in with that. Archetype stuff. This archetype is... It resembles advanced bionics, but it's much better. And I yet don't know how to acquire these in-game. I think they are a quest reward. Not something you can craft. But just like one leg will increase your movement speed by 80% from one leg. Imagine having a spine and 2 of these legs. You're gonna be moving faster than a scyther on drugs. Well, of course, scythers can't take drugs, but that's the most well needed stuff to know about. That Bionics will definitely change your late game a lot. And speaking about late game, before you get there, you have to choose a scenario from the very beginning. Tynan added a new scenario called Naked Brutality, which is pretty simple. You start naked with 1 colonist and absolutely no items. Good luck. To your new colonist, you also have new traits. Tynan has removed Green Thumb, thinking that was OP, which is fair enough. But for new traits, there is 6. There's Tunneler, Great Memory, Tough, Gourmand, Sickly, and Quick Sleeper. Some of them are pretty obvious. Quick Sleeper, it takes less time to sleep. You have to sleep 50% faster, or you have to sleep 50% less. Sickly, you get sick more often, but you have +4 to medical. The same goes with Gourmand. You need 50% more food, but you have a +4 cooking buff. Tough. Tough is, for those of you who dealt with a colonist, attacking colonist, who had his entire organs just filled with drugs. The tough trait does the same. You need to straight up destroy every single body part of that colonist like a zombie to actually kill someone with the trait tough. So be careful of this, especially in early game. That's devastating. Then we got Great Memory. Great Memory is a cool addition that also resembles a mod, which is called Mad Tiered usually, which does so that your colonist almost, not at all, loses any points in any of your skills. Normally these would decay over time. With Great Memory, not so much. Then we have Tunneler, for the second last one. Tunneler is pretty much what it seems like. You are a tunneler. You will no longer feel cramped from being in small bedrooms. You will always have some interior buffs, and you don't care if you're under a roof or in a mountain your entire life. You like that. You're a real gamer now. And lastly, we got Sickly. Sickly, you get sick more often. It makes sense. But you also get a buff to +4 medical. So that's pretty nice. And that kind of covers the new buildings, the trades, some of the new items. One new item. One new item. Where did it go? Did they hold that away? Don't do that. No. Well, you might know the orbital beams and targeters and all that was added in the last patch. Well, Tynan added something new for this one as well. And I don't know where it is. It's gone somewhere. The colonists took it. But, oh, is it that one? No. That one? No. There we go. Tornado Generator. Yes, you can call down a tornado wherever you want. And that is sweet. I can't wait to see that in action. Let's actually just... Well, how about FU? Okay, this might be bad. Let's pause it for now. Let's see what that does in the end of the video. Because there's a lot of other improvements. There's improvements to the raids. There's new kind of groups. You can get specialized groups of just snipers. People can spawn from multiple directions from the same raid. The AI has been improved. There's new modes when they're attacking and they scatter themselves. They have new tactics. The raids have been balanced with the raid points. They can now actually scale the colony a little bit better and smoother. Mechs have been split in two. There's not just a scyther that can shoot and melee. That has been split. There's now the lancer, which can shoot with the normal lancer thing that you can now build, by the way. And then there's the scythers, who are only melee and sprint towards killing your colonists. Which is tough. It hurts. It does. And that's kind of it to the raids. There's a lot of new stuff. And there's a lot of small things and balances that I'll talk about in another video. But it has all been changed dramatically. Just like caravanning. Caravanning is now a lot different. Besides more visibility and new tabs that you might see here, you will now see a small tab up on your colonists when they are actually in a caravan. You can add or take things away from a forming caravan and they will still form. So if you forgot to take some food with you, you don't have to redo everything. Just add it, which is pretty nice. They also have a new tab as soon as you get that going. So that's pretty nice. Availability for caravans have been made a lot easier. And they can now forage on the way. So if you're going somewhere, they can actually, depending on the biome and the movement difficulty, they can actually forage along the way. Yay, 100%. So if you're going from here to here in the forest biome, you pretty much don't need food. They'll just forage it anyway. But of course, if you're going over desert, there isn't that much, and they can only satisfy 25% of their food. So that's a huge difference to caravanning. It's not faster, but it's definitely easier. Also, the slower you move, as far as I've read it, if you're standing still, the chances of getting ambushed is smaller, but else the faster you move, the less likely you are to get ambushed. Which is nice. Which is very, very nice. Which brings us to factions. Factions have been remade. Yeah, show what we'll buy. You can actually go into the list and see what other factions want. And if you build your colony too close to a faction within 4 tiles, they will dislike you. You're building on their territory, and every 15 days you will get a slight debuff towards that faction's goodwill. Because goodwill is now a big thing, something I'll cover in another video entirely. But in general, it matters a lot. With the raids, it actually matters to be friends with all the cities right now. Because if you get them up to the ally trade, they will almost always come and help you doing raids. They will not be small puny raids, they will be big raids helping you. So keeping some good terms with your neighbors is a huge, huge buff. And that really, really matters. And there's a lot small things with that. Like when you trade with them for every 500 gold, you also get 1 goodwill with that designated faction. And there's a lot of other ways that you can get goodwill with, but I'll cover that in another video. So, new features. There is still a bunch to go. So, you might have noticed some of your colonists joining the wild animals in the last patch. Well, that can happen again, just the other way around. Wild animals can join your map, of course, but so can't wild men and women. And yes, you can tame them. You can make them join the colony. But there will be a normal colonist and not a wild dog. So, that's nice. That's pretty nice. Also, you might have noticed, yeah, the seasons changes a little bit more than just snow and not snow. Every season has a unique look. Like, look at this. Look at the colors of the trees. Doesn't that feel alive? Oh, and the models on the berries and everything is just amazing. And yeah, Lunge, you killed Lexi. Did you really have to do that? Well, I guess we made him do it. Yeah. Oh well. But just like everything else, almost every single item in the game has had an overhaul with how they look. Even the trees have gotten a slight update in their visuals. The only thing that hasn't got it is pretty much stone chunks. Yeah, they don't deserve it. There's also new joy factors in the game, which is not called joy anymore. That's called recreation. So it sounds more mature and all that. But that's now a thing. You can now also train your intelligence, which is pretty nice. It's pretty nice. And legendaries. You can no longer craft legendaries unless you are inspired or you get a quest. So legendaries is a lot harder to get a hold of. A lot harder. And that covers the most of it. There is other few new additions to 1.0. Most of the things I'm hyped about is actually in the balance and fixes department. And that the game can now run on 64-bit. I'm quite sure what that's about. But wildlife. You actually have a wildlife tab now, just like you had with your precious mods. That's pretty neat. People also have another type of log that shows up with colors if something good or bad happens to them. So that's visually more pleasing to look at and easier to see. And else, things are pretty much the same. In the needs, some things have been renamed quite a bit. And there is also some different types of expectations now. So the stats of them haven't been changed, but you might see some names that you haven't seen before. So be careful of that. Hungry has also been changed a bit. And so has food poisoning, but we'll go over that in another one. So you can now also mass unforbid and mass forbid. That's a really, really nice thing. Of course, not here. This is already, it's ours, so that doesn't matter, but that is a thing now you can do, which is pretty neat. You can also now have a new attack. When you're in melee mode and close to the enemy, you can now choose to kick water in their face or throw sand in their face, depending on what you're close to, and effectively stun them. And yeah, you can stun with clubs now and maces, which is pretty damn neat. There's also the possibility of smoothing not just floor, but you can actually smooth walls now. Of course, not steel, but... And you might wonder, how much beauty is that? Normally when you smooth the floor it's 2, it still is, and so are the walls. So for those of you building in mountains, get those tunneler perks and smooth everything. It's really worth it. And while you're at it, deep drills, be careful guys. Deep drills now take longer, but the minerals below are way more rich, so there's more of them, and there's a chance for you to spawn an infestation. Yeah, there's a chance for you to spawn infestation whenever you're drilling. And that's just that tornado, guys. So be careful of that. Don't drill too much. Be careful, build some defenses around them in case. Also, something that's also new is blueprints in general, how they look. They look way different now. Everything looks different when you're building them. Just a general blueprint just seems smoother, like everything else. And with that, and with rebuilding another mod, I can fix that. You can now toggle this little hammer on and off, so if you lose something, they will automatically repair it. They should be popping up a blueprint, like you see here, and they will do their damage to rebuild that, even if it might kill them. Yeah. Also, tornado looks better than it used to. Nice. It's the first time I'm seeing one of those. Also, another mod that you must be really hyped about is Workbench Management. You can now copy tasks. You can copy the entire task of a production table and copy it to another similar production table, which is so very nice. Like, how often have we been getting our, ironically enough, our crematoriums destroyed, and we need to rebuild that and reset the tasks? You can now just copy it to a clipboard and have it laying around, which is really nice. Animals can also be renamed now. I don't have any animals here, but you can do that. And so can your colonists. You can not only rename their name, but if you don't want them to be a taster and you want them to be Terminator instead, you can just call them that. Give them nicknames. And speaking of colonists, they have been optimized in a lot of ways. One of them that I'll cover now is how they haul. If Alvas hauls something from here to up here, and there's something up here that should also get back, they will actually now look at job in front of them and haul a little bit more efficient, taking things back and forth, which is nice. And there should also be the, yeah, there we go. Yeah, with the right click, you can now move your colonist around on this. So if you for some reason want all your cooks or fighters to be on the left, all your pacifists being on the right, I like to do that. You can now do that. You can fix them around, and especially if you have so many colonists that you can only see 2 or 3 letters, reorganizing them is huge. So you know that your tanks are the first 4, your EMPers are the next 4, then your attackers, your last 4 the pacifists, or how many you may have of those. The player can now request AI core quests from allies as well. That's huge. That's huge for endgame. I've been sitting around for ages sometimes just waiting for that quest to get that AI core. Now you can just get it. And it's that simple. Along with this, guys, there's been a lot of new features added to the game. This just covers a little bit, just the most essential stuff. There's still new armors, new type of mechanics, new type of weapons. Everything has been remodeled. Everything looks different. Armor has been completely remodeled. Combat is different as well. Damage is different. How do you fight with melee weapons is different. There's so many new things. But I have not included them in the new feature list here. I will cover that in another video. Guys, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. It's massive. Just play, try. You will definitely learn it. Else, just come ask me. I'm always streaming on Twitch every single day except for Thursdays. My name is Eviltrick there. I'm hoping to see you. Have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed the video. More will come soon with the adjustments, fixes and balances. Take care, guys, and good rimworlding.